So I was at Dockweiler Beach last night, and I'm not really good at real life. I basically dress like this. I was thinking, should I bring a jacket? Should I bring a jacket? After all, it was July 6, 2010, and the middle of summer. And I didn't bring a jacket, I didn't bring a towel, I didn't bring food. I'm just not a practical person. I put a note on Facebook seeing if I could get a ride, because I didn't really want to drive there on my own. I was kind of ambivalent about going. I thought, oh, if I can get a ride share, then I'll do it. And I ended up getting 2 offers for rides, so that was cool. I love Facebook. Facebook really helps connect me with people. And connecting with people is not something I do naturally. I tend to marginalize myself wherever I go. So I go to the beach, and a group of us Jews trying to get a fire started. And there's this great raging bonfire just 100 yards up the beach, but I'm sure it was Gentiles who made that. American Jews don't tend to be good at making fires. The wood was kind of green, and I was kind of standing around in my awkward way, and saw an acquaintance, and she said, "Luke, you look so happy and healthy and looking good." And maybe it's my 2 years of Alexander technique training. Maybe that's it. So that made me feel great. And then I was dropping my car off at the mechanic today for a tune-up and an oil change, and he said, "You look different. There's just something different about it. You look healthier and happier." So I'll take that. But this is the highlight. Last night they asked me, Luke Ford, your fallible blogger, your humble servant of the truth. They asked me to give a Devar Torah on Tisha B'Av. So I gave it totally impromptu. And I want to kind of recapture it. This is how I presented it. I kind of presented it more in psychological and life terms than in terms of religious meaning. I noted that I like to take cold showers every day. I start every day with a cold shower, and then I'll often take another one in the afternoon, or whenever I need to rev up, I take a cold shower. And it's really painful, those first 20 seconds. First 10 seconds, particularly under a cold shower, is like a shock to the system. But then when you come out, you feel great, you feel reinvigorated, and if you do it first thing in the morning, then the whole rest of your day is easier. Everything else you will do that day is easier than those first 30 seconds under a cold shower. So these fast days that we have in Judaism, 2 25-hour fasts of Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, which starts on sundown 19th of July 2010, and Yom Kippur. Then we have, I think, 5 other minor fasts, which are just fasts during the daytime. And Jewish fasts are tough because you're not allowed to drink or to eat. So I said these are like shocks to the system. And there's a whole rhythm to the Jewish calendar that I didn't have as a goy. I grew up as a goy, as a non-Jew, grew up a Seventh-day Adventist. And as Christians, there are only 2 basic major holidays, Easter and Christmas. And in my family, we didn't celebrate either because of their pagan origins. So basically every day was the same, except for the Sabbath. But there weren't festivals and fast days and all these rituals. Rituals was a dirty word in my Protestant upbringing. So the Jewish calendar, by contrast, has a lot going on. There are always these holidays, festivals, rituals, fast days. And there's a distinct rhythm to it. So the Northern Hemisphere, as the days get hotter, Judaism gets sadder. So we're in now 30 days prior to Tisha B'Av, where you're not supposed to go to concerts and there are other restrictions. So we're mourning for various horrible things that have happened to the Jews throughout history during this time period, or at least events that are ascribed to this time period, such as the expulsion of the Jews from Spain in 1492, and principally the destruction of the 2 temples. The first one about 2,600 years ago, destroyed by the Babylonians, and the second one about 2,100 years ago, 2,000 years ago, destroyed by the Romans. So those are the ostensible historical reasons for this day of mourning. But I think there are like calendar reasons too. If you're in a Mediterranean climate zone like Israel, these are particularly miserable days and weeks. This time it's like the height of summer, it's hot and it's dry and it's miserable. So afflicting yourselves with these restrictions kind of makes sense. I'm sure there are other peoples in this climate zone who have something similar going on with rituals and abnegation and mourning and fasting, because these are difficult times. Just as in Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights comes during the darkest days of winter, so you want to light things up and get joyous, in contrast to the gloom and the increased hours of nighttime that surround you. So I look at Tisha B'Av kind of as a shock to the system. And I look at all these restrictions as making life more exciting, because when you have a legal-based religion like Judaism, the more laws that you know, the more that you can violate. If you don't know a law, how can you violate it? But once you know a law, then you can violate it. So there's a tremendous excitement that comes from sinning, particularly if you grew up a Christian like I did, where sin is this huge burden that only an otherworldly divine Savior can free you from. Sin has a very different connotation in Judaism. It's missing the mark, and you should shape up and reach the mark. And you can do it. That's another thing that a legal-based religion teaches you. You can do it. Here are these laws, and the implicit message is you can do it. That's what God is saying in the Torah. You can do it. You can fulfill these laws. You can live a holy and a righteous life. But I kind of think of religion and think of Judaism as a pier that you should push off against. And so the more you know the pier, the more you know your tradition, then the more effectively you can launch yourself from it into life. And you choose to observe, not observe. You choose to believe in accordance with the tradition or not believe. At least you should know what the tradition says, so that then you've got this bulwark. So you've got somewhere where you're coming from. You know what the tradition is. You know what your history is. You know who your people are. You know what they've believed and died for and lived for. And so this is the bulwark. And the stronger this bulwark is, then the more resistance it can give you to push yourself off and to launch yourself into life.